Chapter 39.
You are now listening to the Chapter of the Architect with DJ Architect.
What's going on, my people? This is your homeboy DJ Architect. I want to welcome you guys to another chapter of the Architect. On the phone with me, listen, I have a special guest. This individual I hold in high regard. There are people that you meet in life that you guard them very, very close to the heart. This individual, ethical wise, this guy is damn near the gold standard of what a Marine should be. Him and I, we served in Iraq 2003, 2004. Great gentleman by the name of Avery. Avery, how you doing today, my brother?
How you doing, big dog? How you doing, man? Hey, gracious for the words, man.
Hey, listen, man, I'm not saying that just because I have you here on the phone. You have always been someone that I'm serious, that I've held in high regard. I'm going back. I'm recalling the first time that I ever met you. And so the everyone who's listening can find out and know a little bit of our background history and how we met. Ladies and gentlemen, I met this individual back in 2003. I believe we deployed. We deployed together in August of 2003. Correct?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So I probably met you either early August or July. And I recall I headed down to the facility because I was, getting my matters squared away right before I deployed to Iraq for my second deployment. And I'm walking in the facility and I see you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind the facility that we're talking about, there weren't many Marines in there. And the reason is because in our unit, the company was split in half. So what happens is they have two groups. One is called Scarlet, one is called Gold. And those are symbolic to what colors that the Marine Corps utilizes on signs and things of that nature. So that's what they called the two groups. So the facility was extremely empty. Wasn't a lot of Marines. And I was on my way out, and Sergeant Avery at the time was headed towards my way. And I noticed, you know everyone who's in your company, but I knew this Marine was unfamiliar to me. And I went up to him because we were both sergeants. So real recognize real, like mechanized steel. You feel what I'm saying? So as you know what I'm saying? So as a sergeant, I went ahead and paid my respects. Hey, what's going on, Sergeant? Boom, boom, pow. And he goes, hey, I'm going to be attached to you guys. And I said, man, hey, that's going to be great. I didn't know him personally, but by the way he carried himself, very professional demeanor, I knew he was going to be an asset to our team. I shook his hand. I apologized because I really couldn't spend a lot of time with him conversing because I was on my way out. Sergeant Avery, you remember, and you know what? I apologize. When you got out of the Marine Corps, you didn't get out as a sergeant. What was your rank when you got out?
I got out as an E7, a gunnery sergeant.
Excuse me, Gunnery Sergeant Avery. I'm over here busting you down 2 ranks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, so in the Marine Corps, a gunnery sergeant is an E7, but we shorten the phrase and we call them gunnies. That's what we call them. So I'm gonna be utilizing the word gunny. Is that all right there, Gunnery Sergeant Avery?
Man, that's cool, man. You call me Eddie, Gunny, whatever, bro.
So Gunny, do you remember that particular moment when we met for the first time?
I do, man. We was inside I think it was like the maintenance bays or something.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember seeing you, man. I just see. I remember you smiling, and you like, "What's up, man?" I was like, "What's up, man? What's going on?" And then I think we chatted just for a little bit, and I don't think we went into real great detail then and there because, just like you said, you had to go and take care of other things. But I remember walking in, man, and seeing a ghost town, and I was like, what the hell they sending me into?
Now, you came from a different unit. It was a bit odd to me why they would. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me try to explain. So when you go to combat, whether it's an offensive or a supportive element, you get different groups of different units pulled in together, and that becomes a stand-up company. So a lot of times you end up going with Marines that you probably never met, but they come to you as a whole group, and then you're with your team, and then you integrate, and then you solidify as a company or a battalion, and that's how you go to war, and whether you're in offensive or defensive or supportive capacity. What was odd to me was that Gunnery Sergeant Avery came as a one-man Marine with nobody else, and that was odd to me. I was like, why is this Marine? Where's his platoon? They usually come in a platoon size or maybe even a company size. I haven't seen anything bigger than or smaller than a squad. I don't think I've ever seen a squad, but I'm like, where's this other Marine? So explain to us, Gunnery Sergeant, how did you end up with us?
Hey man, it was, and looking back on it, they were sending John Rambo to take care of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
No, but to be honest, man, I remember being told by my supervisor that they were needing additional Marines for maintenance teams because, we belonged to the Force Service Support Group at that time. And General Support Maintenance Company was up under that big umbrella, and they were shorthanded because they had sent a lot of their Marines overseas already. It was already in Iraq.
Right.
So they were like, we got to send another detail of Marines to go relieve the guys that had been over there for 6-7 months already. So they were asking for volunteers on our side where I was at, and being that I had been home for I think over a year, because I had been home over a year from the last time I deployed, and they were like, we need some Marines that's been dwelling for a little bit in the States. So I was like, okay, I'll go do it again.
Right.
And then that's how I got assigned to y'all's unit, man. They sent me over there like a couple weeks later.
I see. Now, prior to this, did you get deployed to Iraq, or was this the first time you were getting deployed to Iraq?
I was in Iraq an additional time during the push-up, the original push-up when the war started off. I went over there. I was over there from January of 2003 until September of 2003.
Man, Eddie, you and I, we probably had this conversation in Iraq, and because loss of memory or whatever have you, it didn't register with me that you did a combat deployment when you went into the initial push in 2003. That was Operation Iraqi Freedom, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, you left out of March Air Force Base, correct?
Left out of March Air Force Base. Yeah, you're right. We did. We left out of there, and we went to, man, where did we go? We went to, I think it was New York. And we flew out of New York to Germany, from Germany to Iraq. We were in Kuwait for a month.
Right. What camp were you in Kuwait?
Man, what's the name of that camp? I can't remember.
I was in Camp Coyote, and I believe there was another camp, Matilda. That's where the British were. And there was several American camps. I'm trying to remember the other camp. I believe it was a Japanese location that they had named that other camp. But nonetheless, wow, so this was your second deployment that you were going on. Now, your first deployment, where were you guys stationed, or were you guys mobile and moving forward?
I was with a medical company. I was with a bunch of sailors at that time. So
nasty squids.
We moved from Kuwait all the way up until all the way to Diwaniyah, which was like 40 miles south of Baghdad. So,
you're talking about Diwaniyah.
Diwaniyah, where the college was, where the school was.
I was at Al Diwaniyah. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me take a look at this document real quick. Give me 1 second.
Gotcha.
I'm just looking at a document of all the locations that I was back in 2003 in Iraq. It was a college in Al Diwaniyah. Yeah, we were providing security for that college. It was a college, and unfortunately, we ended up with the worst building with no roof. So we had a triple canopy to create our own roof. Let's see, does Camp Edson ring a bell?
It does.
That might have been the name of the camp. Ladies and gentlemen, every time and everywhere where Marines go and they stand in place for a certain amount of time for whatever reason, whether it's for supply purposes or defensive posture, and they're there for a certain amount of time, the Marine Corps deems that location, they give it a title, a name, so it could be identified with other Marine Corps units. Now, the name of the location of the town where we were at was called Al Diwaniyah, but I believe the name of the camp was Camp Edson. I don't remember the name of the camp as Edson. I just remember it as Al Diwaniyah. We were providing security for the perimeter, and the gate entrance to that college was all Marine Corps. That was my platoon, and then on the very outskirts would be Army providing security. That is crazy. We were in the same location in 2003, but let's be honest, it was a sizable location. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a college that the military went in there and says, all right, students, you ain't learning nothing anyways, get out. We're taking over this facility. Set up a 360 perimeter, and the square mileage of this facility was quite large, to the point where on the western end of this camp, of this location, this college, was a huge field where we were providing protection for helos, helicopters to land. You recall that, Gunnery Sergeant?
Yeah, I do, man.
Yeah, man. So I was the sergeant of the guard from 2 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the morning, and then from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'd be the sergeant of the guard, going checking on the posts, making sure Marines had batteries, water, everything was amp. Obviously making sure the weapons are functional, providing NVGs, night vision goggles, things of that nature. But I had no idea. You know what? I had no idea that you were there at that camp, my brother.
Man, do you remember where the gym was on the camp?
It was a very, very small gym, but it worked. They had one room that was a weight room, and on the other room there was a smaller room, and they had ellipticals, man. They had like treadmill machines. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, we're in the middle of combat and these guys got treadmills to keep Marines in shape. And I would use them, man. Me and my buddy Sergeant McKinnon, we would go use the gym every single day. That was crazy. Yeah. Hey, what did you think of the chow, my brother?
Man, the chow was horrible.
Yes.
It was horrible, man. We was out of town. Like, we had a guy, like, his name was Crosby, man. I ain't gonna never forget this guy. He came from Chicago. He was like one of those, like, grimy, like, hustling dudes. But he was in
like me. He was like me.
Yeah, he would always go out in town and go find, like, rotisserie chickens, man, and bring them back for everybody.
Hey, man, listen, yes, you're absolutely, and you know what? The Iraqi chow, their food is actually delicious.
It was
delicious because we were security and convoy security. And then we had a detachment of one of our squad of Marines who were probably about 7-8 miles south of our location in Al Diwaniyah, adjacent to a river. And that river were where the Marines who were purifying the water were stationed at, and our squad of Marines were providing protections for those water purifiers. So we would have to go and check on them twice a day, make sure their batteries, their weapons are up. You guys need chow, these MREs. So we were able to traverse up and down the roadway with one or two squads of Marines and check on them, and that gave us access to all types of goodies. You know what I'm saying, my brother? we would be driving in these Hummers with a 240 Golf on the turret, and then on the side of the road you see somebody selling some type of food, or there'd be like a little stand with 2 or 3 Iraqi individuals with a cooler of ice with soda, and they got paid. How many convoys, Marine Corps and Army, went through those locations and filled? Probably these guys made millions. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when we were in Iraq, it was hot as hell, and the last thing you wanted to do was drink hot ass water. Drink hot water for 4, 5, 6 days straight. After a while, you want to throw up because technically you're drinking soup. It's the temperature of soup. Right. And when we would see these little stops, we would get these sodas, and man, we would, hey, what is it, $1 or $2 a soy, man? Here, take $5. Give me everything you got. Yep. So, Avery, what made you join the Marine Corps, my brother?
Man, I got injured out of high school because I was a football player and a basketball player. I had scholarships, man, like to go to. I had a scholarship to Georgia Tech. I was looking at Georgia Tech to play basketball. And I also had an offer from Georgia Southern. I had offers from East Tennessee State University. And I also was looking at going to the University of Cincinnati.
Wow.
But,
and this was for playing basketball?
This was playing basketball, man, because I had I gave football up my junior year, which I wish I would have never gave football up, man. But, playing basketball, man, I graduated 97. I was in camp for basketball, just trying to stay in shape or whatnot that summer, and I ended up tearing my ACL, my knee.
Wow.
And I lost out on any kind of opportunity, man, to play college ball after that, man, because, college is a business, so they want to have somebody that's going to come in there and be 100% effective and
produce.
100% yeah, they're going to produce.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, as soon as I got injured, man, I lost all opportunity, man. So for 2 years, I sat at home. I was up under my mom's roof working at the grocery store, and I never gave the military any thought, man. I always seen the military in high school, but I only seen the Air Force and the Army. I never seen any Marines or Coast Guard or anybody else like that. I was working at the store one day, and I seen a Marine come in. He was with dress blues on. I mean, he had to have been a recruiter. I think he was like on Recade or something like that. He was helping the recruiting office out. So I seen him, man, and I just seen how everybody was like talking to him or whatnot. And he came up to me. He was like, "What's up, man? How you doing?" I remember talking to him, man. I was like, "What are you, man? Like, what do you got on?" And he was like, "Man, I'm a Marine." And if I recall correctly, he was a corporal. He was an E4. And he was helping the recruiting office. But he told me his story, man. He told me about what the Marine Corps was and how long he had been in. I seen how everybody gravitated to him, and I seen how he was carrying himself, man. And it was impressive, man. I was like, I've never seen anything like that before. So I remember going home that night. I talked to my mom. I was like, "Mom, you know what a Marine is?" And she was like, "If you're going to join any military branch, you better be the Marines because they're the best." Woo! And I remember 2 weeks later, man, being in the recruiting office, talking to the recruiter, and he was like, "Hey, man, I can get you out of here within a matter of months." I mean, because right now we're kind of backed up. But I remember signing up, man, and I never looked back after that.
Wow.
Yeah, I never looked back, man. I think it was a blessing, man, to see that Marine that day, man, because, I mean, it just set me on my course of life that I'm on now, man. It was him.
It's a funny thing how God places certain situations or individuals in your life to change your course of life. And,
Yeah, man.
For the individuals that can spot it and can take advantage and utilize it to leverage it, it's a good thing, man. But God puts certain situations and individuals in your path, and you have to know, you have to capitalize on it. You can't just let the opportunity slip and sleep. And the Marine Corps dress blues, that's the panty dropper, baby. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Girls see you in that uniform and they throwing panties, you know what I'm saying? And you like, at ease yourself, ladies, at ease. At ease. Okay, in due time, at ease. You know what I'm saying? But that's a great story. And the cool thing about it is that your mom sat there and co-signed and told you, if you're going to join any service, it's going to be the Marine Corps because they're the best.
Yep.
And
flat out said it, man.
And there's no lie in that. That is the truth. I boast and brag about the Marine Corps. Now, don't get me wrong. I have my issues with them. It's not it's a love-hate relationship. But,
right.
But the thing about it is when you become a Marine, you're a Marine for life. Right.
Yes, sir.
So I saw this posting that stated, the Army or they consider them soldiers, the Navy, they're sailors. A Marine will always be a Marine, and whatever occupation he's doing at that current moment, he's always going to be a Marine. It just so happens at this time he's doing this different career, but he's always going to be a Marine. And every time you meet and recognize or identify another Marine, the first thing you do is extend the hand out and then shake that hand.
That's it. That's right.
I don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I have a lot of love for the Army. I have a lot of love for the Navy, the Air Force. But the Marines are in the mud. We suffered. We're put in a position where a lot of branches of service aren't, and because of that, we identify ourselves, and there's a camaraderie that is unmatched by any other branch. And that's the truth. And I'm not taking anything away from Navy SEALs because I think those men are outstanding, honorable. Their skill set is extraordinary. The same goes for Delta Force, Green Berets, Army Rangers, extraordinary skill sets.
Yep.
Any day of the week, brother, I will always be and pick the branch of United States MC, Marine Corps.
Right.
Now let's go back to your experiences in Iraq, brother. So boom, we meet. I jet. I got to go take care of business. We leave towards, I believe it was the end of August. Go ahead and tell us about your experiences over there in Al-Taqatum.
Man, it's very vague. Like there's certain things I remember about that time, but there's a lot of things I don't.
Let me ask you something. It's funny you say that. I also have vague memories of it, and I don't know, or I cannot put this. The days melted into each other.
Very much so.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, so let me try to explain what the hell's going on in my brain sack for your ass. So, so ladies and gentlemen, when you go out and you're in a combat element, a combat location, right? Whether you're supportive or offensive, there are no weekends. There are no days off. Every single day is a Monday. You hear what I'm saying? And our work days consisted of about 14 to 12 hours on average. Is that right, Gunnery Sergeant?
Easy, man. Easy.
So I believe on Sundays we only worked a 8-hour day or a 10-hour day. We would get like a 2-hour release early type of shit. And so I recall laying down in the rack. The rack is the bed, ladies and gentlemen, and the days would just melt. You didn't really keep track of time. You did your daily routine every day, and the days just melted together. I think the only thing that kept our sanity were the great Marines that we had around us.
That's it.
And I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and let you mention some of those names there, Avery, if you would. Some of the great individuals that really helped our sanity. Can you go ahead and name some names?
Yeah, I know the number one name was you, because I mean we was together like thieves, man. We was always together.
My man.
We had Gallegos. Gallegos, he was crazy.
Corporal Gallegos.
Gallegos, he was another one. You know, he had Cormany. Cormany, he didn't fit in the Marine Corps mold, but like you can tell he had a heart. He would do anything for you.
Yes, I nicknamed him the Savage.
Yep. Homie didn't care, man. He didn't care at all.
That's right.
Another one was Winchell. Winchell, he was a guy from Arizona. He was pretty cool.
My goodness, Avery, I totally
Winchell,
forgot
right?
about Winchell. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Winchell, man. Winchell, goofy country Winchell, man.
Oh my goodness, and he was good people too, man. Such a good-hearted motherfucker. Who else we had in the cut?
Yep. And then who's that staff sergeant's name? The one that came, like he was like the outcast of the group. Staff sergeant Dunkel, I think.
I don't remember.
The Tinkers or something like that.
I don't remember his name, man. The only, as far as the staff sergeants are concerned, the only one I remember is Staff Sergeant Margot, who, and you know what, man, too, who was in my wedding, and of course you were in my wedding, of course, and I don't think I ever thanked you, man. Thank you so much for being a part of that. But aside from Staff Sergeant Margot, I really don't recall, who is now a Master Sergeant. I really don't recall the names of the other staff sergeants. The guy who was a LAV chief was cool as hell. The guy who was the maintenance chief was a piece of shit, because he took the opportunity of one of us becoming a staff sergeant. You know that, right?
Who, you talking about Farrington?
There it is, Farrington. That piece of shit, man. That piece of shit.
That dude's nose was bigger than Pinocchio's, dog.
Listen, there was ladies and gentlemen, there was a promotion available in Iraq from sergeant to staff sergeant. And we, for whatever reason, didn't get along with this guy. Nobody got along with this guy. He was a real fucking prick, this guy.
He was shady.
He was extremely shady, and he didn't have anything. Nothing about him was for you to fear. He was a real, real, in my eyes, a real punk. I give him a good thrashing any day of the week. You know what I'm saying? But he was a real shady character, and the battalion came out with 2 meritorious promotion slots available for staff sergeants. We had, on our team, we had myself, we had Sergeant Avery at the time, Sergeant Chalk, who I love to death.
Yep.
I believe it is Sergeant Summerlin, who was also in my wedding party. Sergeant Miller.
Yeah, Sergeant Miller. Yep.
Looked like Dolph Lundgren or whatever have you. The guy from Rocky. Right. So we had some real qualified sergeants, and in order for you to be able to be put into the pool of individuals that were going up for these 2 staff sergeant positions, you had to write these bullets stating your experience and what you had accomplished, and it was supposed to be due at a particular time and date. He let us know maybe 10, 15 minutes before the end of deadline of when this documentation needed to be presented. And there was no way that we were going to present it in time. So when the 2 individuals were promoted to staff sergeant, I didn't know the Marines. I didn't know the sergeants, so I really can't speak anything negative on their behalf. But what I can say is this, is that they didn't have, that was their first time deployed to Iraq. And there was our unit had 5 sergeants who were currently deployed to Iraq, and some of us had already seen combat and had combat action ribbons. And the 2 sergeants who got promoted to staff sergeant in Iraq, none of them had a combat action ribbon. I know I had a combat action ribbon. Sergeant Chalk had a combat action ribbon. Sergeant Miller had one. I'm not sure if you had one, Avery. But because when you have a combat action ribbon, it puts you up on the slot in a higher position for promotion. And we just weren't afforded the opportunity because of this turd nugget of a staff sergeant. But nonetheless, I digress. So who else did we have?
You remember that staff sergeant that was the white guy, Raftery, remember?
Oh, no, his name was, the staff sergeant, his name was in Raftery. Remember, you gave him the name Pig Vomit?
That wasn't me, man. That wasn't me.
Hey, if it wasn't you, then whoever gave him that name depicted him perfectly. This guy was, oh my Lord, have mercy, man. Ladies and gentlemen, just imagine pig vomit, and that was him.
Hey, man, that dude right there was like, he wasn't worth 10 cents.
Oh my goodness, man. Oh my goodness. We had, you know
dude,
what? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted. I apologize.
It's like that group that we were a part of, man. We were like the misfits, man. Like,
right.
Like, they put a bunch of like misfits together, coming from like and all over the West Coast, man. Those units in Pendleton. It was like, hey, let's keep this thing together and send some people over there to relieve those other guys, like the A team, you know?
Right.
That's what it was like, man. That's what it felt like.
Right. You're absolutely right. So, how can I explain this? So, ladies and gentlemen, so when we were bunched up, so you have your group, your unit, and then you're bunched up with another unit, and then another unit, and sometimes the father or mother unit, they call the shots, and then of course they get taken care of because their CO, is in their unit, and then everyone who's not connected to that unit, it gets treated like a redheaded stepchild. Ain't that right, brother?
That's right.
We had a lot of problems with that unit, man. That captain. You remember that captain's name?
Captain Architech.
There you go. What was the name of that master sergeant we kept bumping heads with? You got a good memory, by the way, Avery. You have a great memory. Man, I just remember shit. You know what I'm saying? there was a master sergeant who we had problems with. This guy, man. We had so many fucking issues with this guy, but he'd be the first one to grab all the female Marines when it was time to take pictures. Okay, all the ladies, come around me. And I was like, look at you, old, ragged, haggard. This dude think he Pimp Daddy, he Big Daddy Kane up in this motherfucker, man. You know what I remember about Alticatum, Avery, is I believe it might have been our first or second night there. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me kind of give you the picture of where Alticatum was. Alticatum was a old Iraqi Air Force base that the United States military took over, and they utilized that facility as a support element. Mm-hmm. And it was on top of a heighted plateau. So what would happen? Maybe 3, 4, 5 times a day, 6 times a day, we would get mortared by Iraqis. These Iraqis were, really intelligent enemy. They would put mortars in the back of a flatbed pickup truck. They would launch a barrage of 5 to 8 mortars at one time, and then they would drive off. And the reason why they would have the mortar inside of a vehicle is because once they launched off their mortars, they would drive and speed off so counter battery couldn't attack their coordinated position. Right? So I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying, right? So there's a way where counter battery can coordinate the original origin of that mortar, and then they go ahead and they counterattack with the hopes that the counterattack destroys that position of mortar attack. Well, they would put them inside the vehicles, launch a barrage of 8 to 10 mortars, and then take off. And the whole time, we're sitting ducks, and we're getting mortared left and right.
Yep.
I believe it was our first or our second night there. They ended up hitting our ACP. Remember that?
Man, we thought World War III started, dog.
Oh my goodness, man. Or ASP, should I say? And ladies and gentlemen, ASP is ammo supply point. So that means that's almost the armory, if lack of a better word. It's the armory in the location where all our AT-4s, grenades, ammunition, rockets, bombs, everything that we need for an offensive tactic maneuver is set in that particular location. And by blind luck, these guys, one of their mortars hits the ammo supply point, ASP.
Yep.
And it might have been, was it the first or second night, Avery? You remember?
I believe it was our first night, man. It was like the introduction to Cotton. We got bombed that same night.
Oh my goodness, man. Ladies and gentlemen, it was like the 4th of July, but like with real rockets.
It was, man.
But with real rockets, like launching off, and you know, we had to get inside these old Iraqi aircraft hangars for cover because shit was just exploding everywhere. 5.56 rounds, 7.62s, 50 cals, grenades, AT-4s, 40 mics. Everything was just exploding. C4. I mean, forget about it. It was a sight to see, man. But our first night there, we were like, damn, dog, we in it now.
Yeah, we in it now. Like, we had our rifles. Like, everybody's like, we about to fight. We about to fight. We about to fight. People in there in the hangar crying. Hey, man, we like, hey, shut that shit up, man. Get your head up, man. It's about to go down.
You know, being more than in Al-Qaeda became second nature.
Yep.
I remember, once again, ladies and gentlemen, because this was an old Air Force Iraqi base, they had barracks. So obviously we're utilizing these barracks for our sleeping quarters. And then you would hear the mortar attack.
Yep.
Boom. Sometimes you'd be in the middle of a shower.
Man.
Your ass come running out naked or hopefully with a towel around your waist. And, you know, it got to the point where you would be sitting in the barracks and you're getting mortared and you hear the mortars coming closer. So you grab your flak jacket, you grab your helmet, and you just sit down and you continue doing what you're doing because, ladies and gentlemen, the motherfucker hits you, it's going to hit you. It's the luck of the draw. And I remember, you know, probably the first week or 2 weeks, man, everyone's like looking around, getting ready to dodge. And then after the third week, you're like, man, you just kept walking. You're like, yo, man, fuck it. You know, fuck it. We ain't wet more. Fuck it, man. And the closer you heard the whistle, that's when you're like, oh shit, man. This bitch fucking wood is really close. I think the sad situation that we had was the casualty. A mortar, you know, obviously they're firing them blind, they're shooting them blind. Yeah, you recall when it ended up killing an unfortunate Lance Corporal where he was carrying a radio that he had just purchased from the PX, and it ended up killing him. And the commanding officer put out a mandated order that all Marines would walk with a flak and Kevlar vest, which, ladies and gentlemen, let me explain to you. If a mortar hits you at proximity range, you know, 5 meters, 10 meters, the percussion and the fragment of that grenade is going to kill you. The percussion alone will blow your eardrums out if you don't have your mouth open. And this individual was bleeding out from his ears and his nose and his mouth, and unfortunately, he ended up passing away. A real sad note. But it was real in the battlefield, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? It was some crazy shit. Damn, my brother, I got so many different things in my mind that I want to talk about, and I keep forgetting them, man, because I keep rambling on. But expand on your experience and your thoughts on Iraq, brother Avery.
Man, I think if it wasn't for certain individuals like yourself, I mean, yeah, Gallegos, like Winchell, all them guys, like without y'all, man, like it would have sucked because everybody else was like coming from clown posses, man. Like they were all about themselves. It wasn't really a team effort. Like they were looking out for themselves, doing some grimy stuff. But like being around you guys every day, man, just made it bearable, man. It made it manageable. And then before we knew it, man, it was just time to go home.
Absolutely. You know, an individual I got a name too, man, is my homeboy, man, Brother Chalk, Gunnery Sergeant Chalk.
Yeah.
You know, my red-headed dude, man. I remember one time, and I know I'm going long-winded with this, man, but there was a staff sergeant that left his computer on. So I went ahead and I sent him an email from that staff sergeant's account to Chalk. And Chalk, ladies and gentlemen, he's a good guy. He was in my wedding, another great individual. He's got red hair, and he used to have one of his teeth on the side were missing. You know what I'm saying? So what I went ahead is I sent Chalk an email from this staff sergeant's account stating, I don't know how to tell you this, but for the longest time, I've had a crush on you. I love your fiery red hair, and that missing tooth is cute. I want to get down with you. What's cracking? So Chalk comes into work the next day, and I'm looking at him. I'm watching him as he's checking his email, and he makes this strange face, man. And the whole day he's avoiding the staff sergeant. He's just looking at him strange, man. And towards the end of the day, right before we get ready to leave, man, I bust out laughing. I was like, yo, man, what's up? You're not going to get with staff sergeant? What's cracking, dog? Hey man, tell the listeners real quick the story about Gallegos, how he was Corporal Gallegos. Ladies and gentlemen, we was in a maintenance shop, and these Marines were rebuilding engines, and Corporal Gallegos really didn't have the experience to be rebuilding engines, and he was attempting to put a C-clamp onto a piston to retain that piston within the housing unit. Tell them real quick, Gunnery Sergeant, what happened with Corporal Gallegos and his expertise knowledge?
Hey, man, you wanted to tell me that one because I don't remember that one. You got to refresh my memory on that one.
So Gallegos is trying to put a C-clamp, which is a retainer, into a piston, right? So the rod doesn't slip out. The dummy is sitting there with the proper tools attempting, and I mean, he's going on for 45 minutes. This man is sweating, and he's making his face, and he's making these noises. So at the time, Sergeant Avery goes up to him and goes, "What's the problem, Corporal? I can't get it in, Sergeant. I can't get the clamp in." And Guy goes, "You gonna hear this shit? So yeah, motherfucker, we talking about your ass. How the fuck you gonna show up to my wedding without a cover? Smack your ass. I had to give you my cover, motherfucker."
That was all that kid, man.
Man, shit, dude. So here comes Sergeant Avery, and he goes, "What's the problem, Corporal? I can't get this C clamp in there." And then Sergeant Avery looks at the piston and he goes, "You dummy, there's already a seat clamp in there, you stupid
Oh,
Yeah, and then you start mimicking him. You start mimicking him and you grab the tool in your hand. He goes, "Yo, this is Gallegos." Motherfucker was squeaking like a pig because he was so frustrated he couldn't get the seat clamp into the piston. Oh my goodness, man. Fucking hilarious. Yes, Gallegos, we cracking on your ass. This dude fucking hilarious, man. Shit.
you know what? I think I remember that now. It was during the day, wasn't it?
No, it was at night. It was at night. Yeah, it was at night.
Wait a minute.
It was at night. I remember, man. It was at night.
Hey, you know what? We were in the tent. We were in the tent, right?
No, man. We were inside the one of the Air Force bunkers, man. The aircraft bunkers. We were in the aircraft bunkers, man. That shit was hilarious, man.
You know what? It was outside the office. They had built that wood office.
Yes, exactly.
Got you. Okay. I remember it now, man.
Oh my goodness, that shit was hilarious, man. Holy shit. Avery, man, I've always considered you a kindred spirit, not because of the way you carry yourself and the respect that I have for you, and you know, I truly do believe that you and I have the same demeanor and the way we carry ourselves. But the reason why I say kindred spirit is because where did you come from as far as where you lived, your locality, your location?
I came from, it was a town outside of Cincinnati called Hamilton. And
This was in what state?
Hamilton, Ohio.
Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Boom, there it is. There it is. See, I came from New York. The reason why I say kindred spirits is because every single time we would sit down there and we would discuss music, everything that you liked, I liked. And it was vice versa. One of the artists that got me through that second tour in Iraq, and I'm sure it helped you out, was Alicia Keys. The Diary of Alicia Keys that was released in 2003. I remember picking up that CD at the PX and playing that CD left and right. The interlude, Feeling You, Feeling Me, Diary, You Don't Know My Name. Those songs I would put them on just those particular songs I would put them on replay.
Mm-hmm.
And her as an artist, and I gotta mention songs in A minor from 2001, Troubles. I love that song as well. But those songs from the Diary of Alicia Keys in 2003 held my sanity. And I would go to sleep to those songs. I would wake up to those songs in the headphones playing. Do you agree? I remember you and we used to have conversations about how deep and just soulful her music was. Didn't you write her a letter?
Yeah, I did, man. I don't think you remember, but I wrote her a letter, and I let her know that she was a big inspiration, and she had a lot of people looking up to her, man, and they were grateful for her work, man, and how she carried herself and the music that she produced. And it got a lot of people in our scenario overseas at the time through a lot of those hard times. And I think it was a few weeks later, man, that I received something in the mail from her. She sent me a picture of her and she had autographed it. And she said, "Thank you for the kind words." And she was like, I hope that I can continue to push out music the way I've done so far, and I will work my best to do so. And I'm very gracious for what you wrote.
Hey, man, that was pretty cool of her.
Yeah, man, I still got that, man. I came across that picture maybe, I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago.
Man, that was pretty cool. That was extraordinarily cool. Let me tell you what would have been cooler if she would have sent you some panties and said, "Keep your head up, daddy."
You stupid, man.
Yo, now she married to that goddamn. Now she married to that rat face Swiss Beats. Goddamn it!
But you know, back then, man, she was rocking the braids, man. So I was like, man, that's really beautiful.
Yeah, man, absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Let me tell you another siren of the land that I behold to be one of the queens is Sade.
Man, you know, she got some new music coming out here pretty soon.
Yeah, I heard, man. I heard. I would love to catch her in concert, man. I gotta catch her in concert, man. She's off the hook. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I have Mr. Avery. I designated him as my inspirational music inspirer. I'm like the music that this man listens to. I've stated, okay, you need to be sending music to me that you got brand new artists or not old, because this man's taste in music is off the hook. Apollo. I'd never heard of this guy. And you started sending me his music. Off the hook, man. Off the hook. How did you find out about Apollo?
Apollo Brown, man. How did I come across Apollo Brown? I think what I did, you remember when I sent you that video of Ninth inside the studio working on beats, Rhythm Roulette?
Mm-hmm.
I came across Apollo Brown's Rhythm Roulette a few years back, and I was like, who is this guy? Like, I never heard of his stuff before, but the way he was making his stuff, like, it was very simple, and I was like, man, let me check this guy out, man. And then when I checked him out, man, like, his catalog is, like, extensive, man. So I was like, man, this dude is a genius. He's a musical genius. Like, this dude is a musical genius. Like, he's not spending thousands of dollars on equipment. Like, he has cool edits. He's learning off Microsoft 97.
But
like making beats, man.
Cool Edit Pro. I used to have that shit.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
but listen, I've always stated this. It's not the equipment or the software that makes the song good. It's the person, and a lot of the times when you have an individual that lacks the tools, he goes above and beyond to make sure that shit's correct. And a lot of it is natural talent. But what happens is when you have an individual who lacks the tools but has great touch and great spirit and great feeling to create that music, when they actually get a software or the hardware that's of high caliber, then it just takes them to 20 notches above where they used to be, because they've already proved themselves to be a great natural talent. So you definitely don't need a piece of hardware that costs you $2,500. Somebody utilizes something that you can download off the internet for free and still bang you out, blow your track out the box. And because it doesn't really have to do with relevant hardware. It has to do with what comes in your talent and what comes out of you. It's a spiritual touch that you give to the music. And that guy is, as well as Ninth Wonder, woo.
Dope, man. Dope.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something too, man. I know I thanked you before in the past, but I gotta thank you once again for hooking me up and introducing me to your sister-in-law, Kay Sarah, which I believe she was chapter 4 or chapter 5. I apologize for not remembering the chapter. She is another great talent, man. Did you by any chance get to hear that chapter?
I heard it, man. It was, you know what, man? I was like, man, this dude, I like that you started a podcast, man. I like what you're doing, man, because, I mean, I just found it to be very amazing, man, how you came about with it, man, and then incorporating her, man, and just making her feel like she was at home and allowing for her to be in her element, man. It was great to hear, man.
Oh no, man, it was such a great pleasure to have her on the podcast. Kay Sarah, such a natural, raw talent. And I'm gonna reach out to her again, man. I told her, hey, we're gonna have you back on when your next project drops. And I'm gonna reach out to him like, hey, look, it's that time. Let's get it cracking. Let's see that new music, man. She is such a great talent, man. Now she is your wife's sister, correct?
Yeah, she is.
Does your sister get down with singing and harmonizing?
She does, man. And you know, right now, like I recently talked to her about some music she's working on. She's incorporating 40s music. She's incorporating 40s samples into her music now, man. So it's gonna be interesting. I haven't heard anything.
Beautiful.
But, yeah, she's interested, man, to say the least.
Hey, listen, man. Hey, she got some music coming out. It'd be my pleasure to have her on, man. Keep it all in the family. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Hey, now you dabbles on the wheels of steel, right? I heard you dabbles on the wheels of steel. What's going on, man? You do a little bit of DJing, a little bit of production. What you do, man?
No, man, I don't mess with the DJing as much because you guys like that is a talent in itself, man. I love sampling music, man. Like I like listening to the different producers, seeing how they do it, how they pull their music, how they make their melodies, man. It's always been interesting to me, man. Like ever since growing up in Ohio, listening to different hip hop and whatnot, like I always had an interest in the track itself, the music itself. Like the music was what caught my attention first, and then the lyrics caught my attention second. That's how it worked for me.
Hey, you know,
like if the beat wasn't right, I didn't like it. I wasn't gonna listen to the artist, but that's just how I look at it, man.
You and I think very, very, very similar, man. Very similar. I will give a brand new artist, I would say 8 seconds of my attention span per song. If I'm not feeling the beat, if the melody, for whatever reason, doesn't capture me emotionally, move me, tear me up, make me sad, make me want to fuck or fight, makes me want to lift weights, you know what I'm saying?
Oh man,
I don't want to fuck with it. And it all comes from that 8 seconds or 7 seconds, and that's the gap that I'm giving a motherfucker to bust out and show me something. And it unfortunately, those first 7 to 8 seconds are not the MC's. The MC could be Nas, which I consider Nas one of the greatest. You know what I'm saying? It could be Nas, but if the beat is not like, yo, man, there's many songs Nas has that I've never heard a second time because the beat's whack. Okay, man, verse is dope, but if the beat doesn't move me within those seconds, hey, man, sorry, homie. Whatever message you were about to spit, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm fast forwarding it. You know, and I think you and I think similar. The beat has to attract and magnetize and capture you, move you in some way, man. Shake you up, whether it's get you amped up, make you want to go on a run or lift weights, or make you want to look at your wife and be like, baby girl, I'm gonna make love to you this evening. This, you know what I'm saying? Or basically listen to a piece of music that's sampled or whatever have you, or made naturally, organically, and inspire you to go into your own studio and say, "Fuck, that shit inspired me, and let me create something out of that energy." That's what real good music is supposed to do. And I feel you and I. And that's why I say you and I are kindred spirits, because you and I, we look at music in the same way. It's got to capture you emotionally. You know what I mean? They change your moods without any medication. They do it with melody, and it's fucking beautiful, and I love it. And a lot of the artists that I currently hear now, I don't hear. It's sad to say. I turned back to a lot of music that was, for me, touching in the 90s, and that's why I said to you, I say, hey man, go ahead and send me some music that some new music to keep me current, man, because I don't want to. I'm like the ostrich, man. I keep my head in the hole, and I delve in my Wu-Tang crates and my Nas crates and my Tupac crates, and I don't want to. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong though. I think J. Cole is fucking outstanding. Kendrick Lamar is a fucking beast. But there are not a lot of individuals that can withstand the quality that these guys put out. Obviously, individuals like Drake, off the hook, man. But the quality of music to me is just diminished. Do you agree?
I agree, man. It's not the same. It's not the same at all, man. I'm the same way, man. I'm stuck in the 90s, man, when I listen to music. But there's a few artists out here that are trying to carry that weight, man, from that period.
That's good. That's good. And if you find them, you send them my way. I'll click on that YouTube link. I want to listen. I want to hear. I want to be inspired. Shit, man. You know what I'm saying? By all means. Hey, brother, so we're going to keep it moving forward real quick, man, because like I said, shit, we already had an hour 5. And shit, I told you I get you off the phone here within an hour, man. But I think we could, I got to have you back. Shit, it's just too much shit to talk about.
Man, I got you.
Gunnery Sergeant Avery, ladies and gentlemen, he has a great resource of knowledge when it comes to VA disability information. And I thought it was imperative for me to pick his brain and ascertain some information regarding some of the knowledge that he has. That way we can disseminate it to so many veterans that, a lot of these guys, they have no clue. They have no idea of how to even get started with a disability claim. And you know what? They've earned it. They've been to combat. Sometimes they just don't have the information and they're ignorant, and we're going to go ahead and try to enlighten them. We're going to ask you some questions there, Gunnery Sergeant. Is that all right?
That's cool.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, be advised, this is not legal advice. He's not representing any entity. This is just an individual that has some knowledge that could be useful to other veterans. You can take it as you will. If I'm asking him the questions, it's because I feel he has some sort of experience with the claim process and the knowledge within the VA. So very briefly, Gunnery Sergeant, can you explain the disability claim process?
Yes, the disability claim process is for any individual that is getting ready to get out of the military that are still on active duty orders or whatnot. It may be somebody that's getting ready to get out within the next few months, or it could either be somebody that's already got out of the military already who has been sitting at home for a while. It's a chance for them to be compensated for any kind of disease or injury that was incurred or aggravated during military service. So we go into the military with pretty much a fresh body. You're going in as a fresh body, no kind of injuries or anything like that. If you do got any injuries, you're going to get waivers for it. But you have what is called an entrance exam when you do it at the MEPS to join the military. That stuff's documented. So over your time, when you're in the military, either an aggravation can occur of that existing injury, or you may get something that's new that you didn't have before. So it's just a chance for you to be able to get compensated for those injuries, because the military was what made those injuries occur or aggravate.
Okay.
All right. So the reason I'm giving this information is because I have a very keen interest for veterans and making sure they're taken care of, because veterans give a lot to this country. And there's a lot of veterans now out here that are not being taken care of and being forgotten about. So I find it in my life to make sure those individuals are taken care of. And I use a lot of my time to either volunteer, or I spend time working at veteran service organizations to, that information that I've gathered from those places, I can give it out and feel pretty confident about what it is I'm giving.
Hey, Brother Avery, man, that's beautiful, man. And the thing about it is, and it sounds cheesy, man, but really, guys, information is power, especially with dealing with the VA, man. If you go in there clueless like a lamb, you're going to be slaughtered, and your ribs going to be eaten. You hear what I'm saying? You do, and that's word up. You do not want to go and submit paperwork for a disability claim with the VA without having some sort of knowledge of the details of what it is that you're submitting for, man. You got to do your homework, guys. You may be lucky once or twice, depending on who receives your paperwork. You may be lucky, but I guarantee you, man, that's a slim chance. Now, moving on to the next question. Brother Avery, what are some common mistakes you see veterans make when filing their VA claims?
I got two for you. The first one I find very important, and a lot of veterans don't take advantage of it, you have veteran service organizations out there that are willing to assist you throughout the whole process and represent you towards the VA when it comes to your claim. You're talking about individuals who may have been veterans themselves or individuals who just love veterans and want to take care of them that are there to help you with your claims. So there's many veterans organizations out there who can help you with your claims that are like you have the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the VFW, you have the AMVETS, you have the Disabled American Veterans, you have Vietnam veterans, you have Black American veterans. There's so many veterans organizations out there that you can use that are free, F-R-E-E, that will help you with your claim and get you going in the right direction. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that veterans, they try to do it themselves. They go in there blindly, like you said, not have the knowledge of how to navigate the VA process. And that's how a lot of stuff gets denied. You have to go in there and you got to be represented by somebody who can help you out. And that's what those organizations can do. The second thing is, I see so many veterans, they get out the military and they wait for a long period of time before they make a claim. You have a golden period. Like, say, for example, you get out January 15th of 2016. Like, you get out of the military, that's your last day, that's it. You have a year from January 15, 2016 to January 15 of 2017. Anything that occurred within the military, the VA is going to look at it in a favorable way within that year if you come in with a claim. So if you have a veteran who waits 5 years, a veteran who waits 10 years, a veteran who waits 20 years and says, oh, I had issues because of the military, I'm having problems now, like, it's not going to be very favorable unless it was a presumption, something that you're going to get rated on because it's something that occurs, something like Agent Orange, like a Vietnam veteran. Agent Orange claim, if you got diagnosis right now or something that occurred then, yes, we're going to help you out. But I just see where veterans wait too long, man, to try to file claims, man. And I think it's because they don't know or they're too prideful, too much ego. I don't know what it is, man, but we have so many things to be able to help that they should take advantage of.
Absolutely. Now, real quick, I've got a question. So you utilize the word presumptive. Can you explain that to the listeners? Presumptive?
A presumptive, right? So I'll use the Vietnam War, for example. You have veterans out there right now who have been diagnosed with diabetes, mellitus 2, prostate cancer. That's just to name a few of the presumptives that are out there. So if a veteran can prove to the VA that they served in Vietnam with a DD-214, or if the DD-214 doesn't give enough information, they'll look at personnel records to see that you were on ground, either on shift in Brownwater or you may have been in country with boots going to go fight. If we can verify that through your personnel records, like, it's going to show that you have a presumption, like you were there, you're certain, and you're going to be okay. Because if you're coming to us now, 40-some years later, 50-some years later, saying that you got these issues, we know it's because of Vietnam. That's a presumption.
Now, Gunnery Sergeant Avery, wouldn't you also need, I'm assuming, a current diagnosis of that illness?
Yes, a current diagnosis is going to be very, very important. When it comes to a presumption, right, like, you could have a veteran who got out of the service in 1974. You know, Vietnam didn't end until 75, so 74, they may have went to the doctor, got diagnosed with it, and they didn't see any doctors from that point up until now. I mean, they would be perfectly fine because we have proof that they were in Vietnam, and they do have diagnosis from that period.
Now,
so they will be okay.
Now, through the presumptive process, would they have to have a nexus or a connection to prove, or because of the presumptive process, would that negate that connection of service with the diagnosis?
Yeah, a nexus is not needed in this case. If they show that they were in Vietnam and they got proof of it, and we see it, they're going to be okay.
Now, there's this thing that I'm hearing there, Gunnery Sergeant Avery, that it's called the Gulf War Syndrome. Does that fall into the same category as Agent Orange in Vietnam?
It falls into the category of presumptives as well. Yes, it does.
So all you would have to do is present a DD-214 stating the area of operation, or perhaps a letter of decoration or a combat action ribbon stating where that combat action ribbon is, or perhaps medals to state that you were in that location, and then the current diagnosis with the presumption of the current diagnosis was onset in that particular location. Is that correct?
Correct. It's got to be within Southwest Asia. Southwest Asia could be Kuwait, it could be Iraq, but it's not Afghanistan.
Now, does that also, I know you said for Vietnam, but would that also carry for an individual on board of a naval vessel that was in the area of Kuwait?
Yes, if they were on the ground at any point in time, they had to have been on ground.
Outstanding. On to the next question, brother. Once again, I apologize for the time consuming, but you're a plethora of knowledge, and we're trying to ascertain as much information out of that beautiful brain sack of yours. But let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving forward. Now, I assume the VA laws and the regulations, man, they have to change, and I'm assuming they change every year. Very often, they're coming out with changes regarding the claims. Have you heard about any new changes that are coming up regarding the VA stating, oh, wow, this could be tied to this. This could be a secondary condition to this. Is there any new information coming out? Because studies are coming out from physicians and doctors. And is the VA taking that information from these studies? Are they taking that and are they looking to make changes?
Right now, I don't see any major changes coming. Like internally, we have changes every week, but it's just how we handle the claims process and how we handle claims when we receive them. But major things that are facing veterans out there when it comes to claims and evidence and things like that, I don't see anything major right now.
Okay. What are the different types of evidences that a veteran can submit to help their claim, in support of their claim?
You have what is called buddy statement. Those are very important. Like you may have a veteran who does not have. You
said buddy statements, right?
Yes, buddy statement.
That's also considered as a lame evidence. Is that correct?
Right. You have veterans who may not have the evidence in their record, like service treatment records might not have anything, or they may not have any STRs at all, service treatment records. So we would ask the vet to give us a buddy statement, give us a statement showing that you had a buddy that witnessed these things, or they can say that you were a part of this scenario or this certain situation. So we would take that evidence, that buddy statement, and look at it. We would look at that evidence as the gospel, because it's a certified statement. It's something that will be a part of that veteran's file.
So obviously, a letter from the spouse would help immensely.
Oh, very, very much so. Very much so.
What about a statement from the veteran himself?
That will help as well, because you have what is called a 4138 statement in support of the claim. So I recommend to all veterans, when they file a claim, to always use that form and explain how that disability came about and how it's affecting you now. You want to paint a picture for the person who's going to work on your claim as easy as you can, because there's so many claims that come across that there's no explanation, and the person on the other end is left to try to figure it out. If you explain and paint the picture for that person that's going to work your claim on the other end, it's going to help out tremendously.
Yes, I see. So you're stating is just don't submit a claim. Submit a statement explaining why and the actions pertaining to that particular day of how you occurred the injury.
Yes.
It makes absolute sense. Makes absolute sense. Now, aside from utilizing that VA form, which is a certified document, could it also be could a veteran also utilize the route of creating or having a buddy statement written in the position of a business form letter and then having that notarized by an official notary?
You can do that, and you can just actually write a letter and sign it and date it and send it in.
Does the notarized letter hold any weight, either or?
There's no difference in it when it comes to those letters.
So you would say to someone, just save your money?
I would say save your money.
Okay, I'm going to save my money. Okay, now, Brother Avery, please explain what a DBQ form is and a nexus letter from your doctor are, and is one more effective than the other? For example, if I'm a veteran and I have plantar fasciitis and I believe it's related to the military, do I present my private doctor with a DBQ form, or do I ask him to please write a statement, a nexus letter of connectivity? Which would be more effective? Could you please explain what a DBQ letter is and a nexus letter is, and which is more effective than the other, or if not?
I would say that this is going to be the most important piece of this podcast. If you're listening, make sure you're paying attention to this part right here. Disability questionnaire is very, very important. The nexus letter is very important. Like when a veteran claims any kind of disability, it's going to be on the VA to find evidence and to determine if we're going to send that veteran for an exam, who can be with a contractor or could be with the VA themselves, because the contractors are contracted out by the VA. So the VA is slammed with contract exams, like they can send them out to the contractors. But the DBQ disability questionnaire, I recommend that any veteran who is submitting a claim submit their own DBQs, because I say this, you have a lot of veterans out there who go to the VA and they have a history with a certain doctor, or they may go to a private doctor and have a history with that doctor. If you get your private doctor to write that DBQ up for you, they know your history, they know what you've dealt with, they know everything about you. They can write it all on that disability questionnaire, and you can submit that with your claim, and it would cause your claim to go straight for rate. A rater would look at it and be like, okay, let me rate this individual. If you don't submit that DBQ, it's going to be on us to gather the evidence. It's going to be on us to get you to an exam, and you're going to go in front of a doctor who you don't even know. You don't even know this person. Like, they don't know you. They're looking at a record. They may not look at a record. We don't know. One thing we know is we get you to that exam, we did our job to get you to that exam. So it's important you get that DBQ from your doctor yourself to submit it with your claim.
Now, will a nexus letter from your private doctor negate the comp and pension examination from the VA doctor?
No, it won't. It'll help. A nexus letter will point us in the direction of, okay, let me look at this area of his records to see if this is matching what he's saying, or let me see if he has the evidence to match what the doctor is writing, because there's a lot of times when the doctors are writing letters like that, but they hadn't even looked at the military file. So it's not going to hurt. I mean, it's not going to help that vet at all. So if a nexus letter is being written by the doctor, because some doctors don't fill out the DBQs, and I don't know why, because they don't want to take their time doing it. But if they use a nexus letter, the veteran submits a nexus letter, they have to make sure that their doctor has looked at their military records and can say that because of the military, they're having issues with these certain disabilities. They have to put that language into that letter.
I believe, this is just my humble opinion, I believe a lot of the times why a physician wouldn't want to fill out such a document is because a lot of the times it is time consuming.
Very.
Number one, the doctor, in order for the statement to be effective, number one would have to look at the veteran's C file, his record, his medical record, correct?
Yep, correct.
And that could, depending on the number of pages within that file, that record, it could take numerous amount of hours. And then he would have to make the connection of the disability and connect it with military service. So that takes a great amount of time, and doctors, they're busy individuals. Their profession is to get individuals in and out of the office. Would you recommend, or would you state it would be a good option to possibly communicate with the doctor? Listen, I know this is going to take a lot of your time. This is a huge favor that you would be doing for me. And because of the time that you would be consuming looking through my files, I have no issues with incurring a bill for your time. And would there be any issues with that as far as stating, hey, look, you're a busy individual. Your profession is to get patients in and out. And I'm asking you to take a look at my documents, which, ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing on paper stating that they have to do that for you. So would there be any issues with the patient, you being the veteran, stating, hey, look, I will compensate you for the time lost of bringing in patients if you can take time to look through my files? Do you think that's an acceptable summary?
That is very, it is very acceptable. If you go in there and you tell your doctor what you're trying to do, you explain to them what you're trying to do and why it needs to happen, I think a lot of doctors will work with you. And what will help too is don't go in there and get them 1,500 pages of medical records.
Right.
If you're trying to clean something, find that information, print that information out, or a tablet or something to where the doctor can easily find it and be able to write stuff up for you. You want to minimize the impact on that doctor.
Perfect.
Just by you yourself and doing this whole thing.
Perfect. So in summary for that question, what you're saying is have your physician, your doctor, fill out a DBQ statement, and within that statement, have him submit what would technically be a nexus letter within the remark statements, correct?
Correct. You can do all that, and the VA itself has a web page where they have all the disability questionnaires for each disease or disability online.
Perfect. On to the next question, my brother. Thank you for that, man. That was a great one. Great info. Now, would you advise a veteran to fight a denied claim or wait for some time and then reopen the claim and return with more substantial evidence if they can? And if they want to reopen the claim, how long do they have to wait in order to reopen that denied claim?
Okay, so let's say, for example, you yourself, you get a notification letter saying, hey, you've been denied for asthma, you've been denied for plantar fasciitis, or you've been denied for everything that you claimed, right? You got denied for that. You got denied for those disabilities yesterday was the date of that letter. You received that letter yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
On April 21st, you received a letter saying, hey, you've been denied for so-and-so. You have a year from that date to come back towards the VA with new and material evidence showing that they need to reevaluate that denial. So yesterday you got denied. You can wake up this morning, you can wake up this week, you can wake up a month from now and say, you know what? I'm going to resubmit some new evidence and I want to fight this thing. So it's okay for a veteran to fight because that's why you have these different steps in place. You have a year from that notification date to fight and get new evidence in there. Like it's easier for them to do it within a year. So
perhaps you can get your physician to submit a DBQ statement document.
Correct. The biggest thing too is if you get notified by the VA that you've been denied, you need to read that letter that they send you because they're going to let you know why they denied you and what they're looking for in order to connect you. It's all in that paperwork, and a lot of vendors don't read it. It's right there. They give you the answers to the test.
All you have to do is read it.
All you got to do is read it. Because a lot of them, they see denial, and then they toss it to the side. They just forget about it. You got to read the black and white that they send you because they give you all the information that you need in order to be connected.
Now, what would be the most fruitful way of going about it? The denied claim is fighting it, or to wait and then once again reopen the claim.
Okay, so within 1 year of the notification, if you come back in, you can request what is called for a reconsideration. A lot of vendors don't know about that. You can be reconsidered based on new and material evidence that you submit. So,
and what is? I apologize. What is the time length for that?
You want to do that within 1 year of that notification letter. And if you wait until more than a year, is what you call a reopen claim. So anything under a year is reconsideration. Anything over a year is a reopen. So you have reconsideration. A lot of vendors don't know about reconsideration. So if they get denied for something, you can come back in on a new claim and say, hey, I was denied on so-and-so date. I request to be reconsidered for so-and-so. But make sure you turn in new and material evidence that has not been looked at. And the evidence that's been looked at is on the letter that they send you in the denial. You can't send the same information in and ask for reconsideration. It's got to be new evidence that has not been looked at before.
I see. And then for the reconsideration, it has to be submitted within 12 months within the denial period, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, for the reopen of the claim, how long must a veteran wait to reopen a claim after denial?
You can reconsider. You can reopen anytime after the fact. The way they look at it on the VA side is you have 1 year from the date as a reconsideration. Anything over a year is a reopen. Right. So
now, I'm assuming when you reopen a claim, you would also have to submit brand new supporting evidence to reopen your claim. Is that correct?
That's correct.
My man, let's move on to the next question, man. This is awesome. Goodness, man. Your wealth of knowledge. I appreciate you so much, brother.
No problem, man.
A great tool that I've utilized to help me in networking with veterans, man. That networking is a key word. I network with you. You and I, we served in Iraq, combat veterans. To me, you're a plethora and a wealth of knowledge. I looked for you for guidance and information. That to me is key, networking. Do you have any other outstanding great tools that you would suggest for veterans to help them with their cause aside from networking?
I would say to hook up with a veterans organization. Because there are so many veterans out there, man, in your town that you live in. There's veterans that you work next to. Like, don't be afraid to shake hands and tell your story and introduce yourself because you never know who you're going to come across, whether it's somebody you work next to or somebody that may be in one of those veterans organizations. Another way is to get on what is called LinkedIn. LinkedIn, there is so many veterans out there, man, that's for the cause and trying to help each other. So many of them.
I'm going to look into that. The reason why I say networking is such a great, powerful tool, man, is because if you keep your trap shut, nobody's going to know your issues. Nobody's going to know what you're going through. The moment you open your suck and you connect with another veteran and you start talking about ailments and, hey, were you getting disability for that? Did you know that could be considered a situation that you got from a particular location that you served in? No, right. I was unaware. Well, why don't you come over here under the learning tree and let me teach you something? By all means. Let me hold on. Let me go to the store. Let me get some 40s. Let's kick it. right?
Yeah.
But that's why I consider networking to be such a vital tool, man. Because out of a basic conversation of, hey, man, what's cracking, man? Hey, man, boom, 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 bye. You was in the service. Oh, I was in the service. Yeah, man, me, Marine Corps. Oh, yeah, boom. All of a sudden, you ascertain a wealth of knowledge, and that individual also be all of a sudden can change your life with a piece of knowledge. So that's very imperative for the veterans who are listening. Is hey, man, I know some of you individuals are dealing with some situations, but you got to be able to open up just a tad bit and just let some people know what you're dealing with, man, because that person can have something, a wealth of information for you. Now, what are the most common claims when you were working as a volunteer that you saw coming through your station, and what are the successful veterans doing that others are not, as far as their claim?
Well, I've seen so many different types of claims. Like, you see dependency claims, you'll see Agent Orange claims, you'll see go forward claims. Like, you'll see claims for stuff that veterans know they didn't get in the military. Like, it's so many things you see on a daily basis. The one thing that stands out when I look at those types of claims is there are some veterans out there that are well prepared. You can tell that they read online. You can tell that they know what they're talking about, or they have somebody in their corner that can put them in the right direction. Like, their claim is prepared, man. Like, they submitted, like, they got the statement in support of claim. They paint the picture. They provide the evidence. Like, they don't have the VA go looking for the evidence. Like, they provide everything with the claim on the same day the claim comes in. Like, they are prepared. Like, hey, you can make a decision on this claim right now based off of everything I'm giving you.
And is that considered a fully formed claim? What's the name of that?
Fully developed claim. You're correct.
Fully developed claim.
Mm-hmm. A fully developed claim, everybody's going to come in under a fully developed claim unless there is something that is missing that the VA has to go and look for. Like, you may have a vet that comes in saying that I want to claim PTSD. Okay, but they don't submit anything else.
No diagnosis.
No diagnosis, or they don't submit a 0781 form, which is a stressor form, telling the VA, hey, this is the reason why I got PTSD. So if that form is missing, or you got diagnosis and stuff that are missing, you're going to get booted out of the fully developed claim process and go to the standard claim process.
I see.
Because you're missing information.
Because now the VA has to send you to an appointment with a physician or a psychiatrist to get diagnosed for PTSD, correct?
No. The VA wouldn't send you for that information. We would reach out to the veteran themselves and say, provide us the reason why you got PTSD. And then we'll make a decision on if we're going to send you for an exam or not. I
see. Now there's different forms and different levels of PTSD. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, the depending on the level of PTSD that the individual has, then the individual will receive different levels of compensation. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, there's different levels according to the DSM-5. I think it's a manual where they look at mental disorders. It's like scale levels within that manual. Hey, if you hit this level right here, you get rated at this position, or you hit this level right here, you get rated at this position. I've seen veterans who are rated at 100% PTSD. Like, wow. They are really out there. Like, they got some issues going on with them.
Wow.
Or I've seen veterans who got 30%. It just depends on the level of how PTSD is causing them the issues that they have.
Now, initially, in order to receive PTSD benefits, the VA has to initially, a VA physician or doctor has to diagnose them. Is that correct?
It could be where the doctor has diagnosed them on the VA side, or it can be a private doctor.
Okay.
But the way the VA looks at it, as if the veteran coming in and saying they're going to put in for PTSD, the VA is going to look for a couple of things. One, they're going to look at the DD-214 to see where that veteran
has been deployed to.
Deployment.
Mm-hmm.
or we're going to look for a combat action ribbon, or we're going to look for the CAB on the Army side, the combat action badge.
Right.
Like, that right there is telling us, hey, this dude has been, or this lady has been in the shit. You know, we got to get this exam.
In the thick of the mud.
Right. Right. So you may have a veteran who had never deployed, don't have those badges or those medals, but they're claiming PTSD. So, like, you got people out there who's been assaulted. Like, you got families who may have a husband or a wife claim PTSD because they were in domestic violence, or they witnessed a car crash on the side of the road where they were helping people get out of a burning vehicle or something. Like, there's different types of PTSD that is not just tied to combat. Perfect.
So, but that would designate them as a different category, because one thing that I noticed with the VA was that when I first went into their services for care for medication, was they asked me for my DD-214, and on my folder they wrote combat veteran. And then there was a folder to the left of that said veteran. And then there was a folder to the right inside these nicely stacked bins that said POW or combat wounded. So the VA designates and has veterans selected in 3 different tiers, which is veteran, combat veteran, POW, and or combat wounded, correct?
Correct.
My man, okay, we pushing through it, brother. I know, we pushing through it. Okay, are there any benefits for veterans that are not well known, that are left unclaimed, that a lot of veterans just don't know about?
I'm gonna tell. There's so many benefits out there, man. Like, depending on where you're located at, what state you're in, you need to look at the veterans section of state benefits, because there's a lot of benefits out there that are left on the table that veterans don't know of. I know here in Georgia, one thing that is a big deal is, like, veterans can go to their local county and get free license plates. You have veterans that if they get 100%, they'll get property taxes eliminated. It's just so many things that are out there that veterans don't know of. But you have to research. You have to talk to people.
Right.
You have to talk to other veterans that are around you, or veterans that you may meet on a daily basis, because there's a lot of things that are left on the table.
Brother Avery, why is the benefits so secretive? Like, why is the network so imperative, and why isn't it just out there for like a network service like Facebook? For individuals to ascertain this information, is because it just seems like a very secretive, underground, informative network. Why is that?
Let me tell you this, and you already know. What does the world run on?
Money.
It's all about the money, brother.
That's right.
It's all about the money, but I'm going to tell you that there is tons of money in the VA. The VA is the second biggest federal agency. There's tons of money, man. Like, the VA has the tools and the benefits to help veterans. But the thing that's important is the veterans have to come correct. They have to provide the information that is needed to get to them benefits, man. Like, if you're not providing the information, you can't say, oh, the VA is doing this, the VA is doing that. You have to provide the information, because the VA is going to tell you what they're looking for specifically. And if you hit those targets, you're going to get the benefit.
You have, as a veteran, you have to do the research.
You have to do the research, and you have to provide everything that the VA is looking for in order to get you the benefits, man, because there's plenty of veterans out here that's been getting the benefits for years. There's plenty of veterans out here that don't even know about the process, but you have to do the research, you have to talk to people, and you got to provide everything that's required on the VA side to get rated and get benefit.
Listen, man, Brother Avery, thank you for the wealth of knowledge that you just given many, many veterans that are hopefully, I hope that are listening to the podcast, man. This has been something great. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the laughs. I appreciate the times that we spent in Iraq. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you something, man. Without you there, without Chalky there, without Gallegos there, without some of the great folks we had there in Iraq adjacent to us, man, great Marines left and right, it would have been such a horrid tour. But I will tell you this, I especially hold you close to my heart. And man, shit, dude, your rack was adjacent to mine, and you will be like, hey, look, man, listen to this CD. Hey, you listen to this CD, and I hold you. You have no idea, man. I hold you in such high regard and such high respect. The fact that we're able to sit down and digest the same type of music and bop our heads to the same lyrical devastation that these artists put out, that's what connects me to you. And the fact that you and we served together in a combat country and were able to come back, and you were able to be a part of my wedding party, and you held up the non-commissioned officer's sword at my wedding was listen, man, thank you so much for that, by the way, man. I don't know how to thank you. I really don't, man.
Man, I just before I reply to that, all the veterans listening out there, this is the gold mine of benefit information you need to check out. Benefits.va.gov. Once again, benefits.va.gov. If you got a phone, if you have internet at the house, if you have work internet, if you have a library next door, I don't care where you go look at it. Go to that website right there, and there is so many benefits on there that you'll uncover just by clicking through the links.
My man.
But man, Carlos, man, Architect, man, it's been a pleasure, man. From the date I seen you at Pendleton in 2004 up until now, man, it's been a journey, man. And I don't know, man, you got people that come into your life and cross your path. Like, life and relationships with people are like seasons, man. Seasons don't come and go just like they come with us every year. But when you get that season that comes into your path, man, that is positive and it's an asset, you want to keep that season around, man. So, I mean, there's definitely something that you provided over the time, and I know we're going to be laughing and giggling about stupid Iraq stories, man, well into our older years, man, gray hairs in the face.
Absolutely. Real quick, man, when the podcast was created, man, it was to show my interest in music and particular artists. And then it moved on to expand on life experiences and most importantly, people that I felt were imperative in my life. And I decided to start putting those individuals within the podcast that made an impact in my life to share a sequential part, pretty much my story. And everyone who I have on the podcast has made a great impact on my life, and you are one of those individuals, and I'm so blessed, and I'm so happy that you were able to we were able to put your voice on record and have you up on here, and then just spread out the knowledge that you just gave out, that would help so many veterans out, who just don't even know that these benefits exist, man. So believe me, man, it has been much more pleasure of mine than it was for yours. I truly apologize. I know I told you, hey, look, I'll probably have you on here for 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Here we are running an hour and 51 minutes, damn near 2 hours, but every minute of it has been great. I know you and I will speak later on in the future. Man, just thank you so much, and I truly appreciate it. After I sign off, just don't hang up. Let me talk to you real quick after I sign off, man. But aside from that, is there anything you wanna give out to the listeners?
Hey, get your education. Use that GI Bill if you hadn't. I know with me, I was fortunate while I was in to use tuition assistance and get my bachelor's degree while I was in, and then when I got out, I used my GI Bill to get my master's. So, I mean, education is another way to get knowledge, and putting the right people in your corner is another way to get knowledge. Use your assets. Use everything that's out there in front of you. As veterans, we are blessed with so many things. You got to get off your ass and you got to use them, because this world is cold. This world is going to kick you to the side. But if you do things the right way, you will be very successful out here. And I leave people with that, man, because there's a lot of people that just they don't take advantage of everything that's in front of them. And with you, my man, like, it's been a pleasure, man. And anytime, man, I got your back on anything, man. So just let me know, man.
Thank you, my brother. Just go ahead and stay on the phone real quick, man. Let me go ahead and sign off. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been your host, DJ Architect. It has been a great, great pleasure to have my homeboy, man, my combat veteran compadre, Gunnery Sergeant Avery, on the mic with us, giving us great information. This has been Chapter 39 for your monkey ass. This is your homeboy, DJ Architect, representing the place to be. I love you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, Chapter the Architect, DJ Architect out.
DJ Architect.